Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new Nancy Drew analysis video. Today's video is brought to you by the patrons over at Mystique Manor and by all the official Fellow Detective channel members. If you too would like to support the channel and gain access to exclusive features, check out patreon.com/wizardkitten to become a patron, or click join next to the subscribe button to become an official fellow detective. Normally on this channel, you'll find me singing praises about our favorite heroine, Nancy Drew. She's a brilliant private detective, brave, clever, determined. She's solved dozens of complicated cases that no one else could, which begs the question, how is Nancy so good at solving these cases? Personally, I think it's because she's a great detective, but it might also be because she breaks a lot of rules. And by rules, I mean laws. That's right, folks, Nancy Drew is a criminal. She acts all shocked when she's arrested in Alibi and Ashes, but really, she probably shouldn't be surprised. Throughout the course of the Nancy Drew PC game series, Nancy has flouted so many laws that honestly, it's a miracle that she keeps getting away with it. So today, let's go over Nancy Drew's rap sheet, officially known as a Record of Arrests and Prosecutions sheet, an idea suggested by one of you lovely fellow detectives. Together we'll explore, in depth, the crimes of Nancy Drew. Now, Nancy is essentially an unlicensed private investigator. She calls herself an amateur detective, but she doesn't work for any companies that would provide her with certification. She hasn't undergone specific training, at least as far as we know, and she doesn't carry around a license or badge. Basically, she's a rogue agent, a lone wolf. I did some brief research on what private investigators are and are not allowed to do in the course of their work. I am unequivocally not a lawyer or experienced in any way with law, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. But from what I could find online, private investigators are generally allowed to investigate people in public spaces and research through records, but pretty much all private property is off limits. Private investigators are not supposed to break into residences, trespass, or otherwise illegally gain access to buildings, devices, or storage without permission, plant bugs or wiretap phones, hack into private online accounts, or masquerade as law enforcement. So, if you're familiar with the series, you may already be thinking, uh-oh, good thing Nancy's dad is a lawyer. This also probably goes without saying, but private investigators also aren't allowed to break other laws while in the line of duty. Reckless driving, for example, is prohibited, as is, stealing. These would be crimes regardless of whether or not someone else happens to be doing something illegal. Two wrongs don't make a right, Nancy. Finally, one additional thought to keep in mind are laws of self-defense. Self-defense laws appear to differ from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but generally it seems that you are allowed to use force in order to defend yourself when there is an imminent threat. This applies to many culprit situations in which Nancy injures one of the suspects in order to protect herself or escape from harm. So with our extremely cursory background research complete, what does Nancy's rap sheet look like? Well, considering that a rap sheet is a record of arrests and prosecutions, it's technically quite short. Nancy has only been arrested once in Alibi and Ashes, and she was cleared of all accusations in that case. So really, Nancy doesn't have a rap sheet. But what she does have is a litany of crimes that she could be accused of if we were lawyers who, for whatever reason, decided that Nancy needed to be taken down. Who knows, maybe we were hired by Tony Scolari. This is all conjecture, but let's explore. First, we have 2 counts of reckless driving. In Secret of the Old Clock and Trail of the Twister, Nancy can drive around very recklessly. It's my favorite part of Trail of the Twister, to be honest. When I say reckless, I mean purposefully crashing into other cars, not stopping at intersections, driving down the wrong side of the road, and going ridiculously fast. Nancy is lucky that no one was around to see her fast and furious moments because those tickets would have been nuts. Next, we can charge Nancy with a single count of disturbing the peace, when she repeatedly sets off the alarms in Paseo Del Mar High School and Secrets Can Kill. Doing so is not only obnoxious, but it also impacts the daily functioning of the students and staff who remain in the building, even if we can't see most of them. Nancy also isn't a student, so she is beheld to public law instead of school disciplinary measures. Next, we can also charge Nancy with 2 counts of instigating bodily harm on another in Legend of the Crystal Skull. Bess Marvin is technically the perpetrator of these 2 offenses, but Nancy instigated them, so I'm just going to go ahead and blame her. Legally, I would imagine that they would both be held accountable for purposefully causing a violent and potentially harmful sneezing attack on Lamont Warwick, and for purposefully causing major digestive issues by serving him hot sauce that he explicitly declined. Poor Lamont. Next up, virtual trespassing, aka hacking. This is an invasion of personal property and privacy, and we can charge Nancy with at least 8 counts of unauthorized electronic access. Nancy hacks into Lewis Chandler's private computer and Message in a Haunted Mansion, Manette's online gaming account in Danger by Design, the Healy Healy Research Center's private research records in Creature of Kapu Cave, the front desk computer in Shadow at the Water's Edge, all of the computers at the Technology of Tomorrow Today lab in The Deadly Device, Ewan's computer in The Silent Spy, and Dagny's phone and Soren's tablet in Sea of Darkness. In all of these instances, Nancy was not given permission to access the private records on these electronic devices and therefore exceeded her purview as a private investigator. The next category is similar and a bit complicated: illegal surveillance. Private investigators are not supposed to bug or wiretap private citizens, nor are they supposed to surveil them while they occupy their private spaces. We could charge Nancy for these actions in both Phantom of Venice and The Silent Spy, even though she is technically working for governmental and intelligence agencies. However, it is stated within both of these games that Nancy is still operating as a private citizen and does not have full clearance or the full protection of these agencies. It seems, apparently, that the agencies are aware that Nancy is committing crimes as part of her investigations, but they agree not to charge her with them unless she gets caught by a third party. I have absolutely no idea if this is how things work in real life, but apparently it's how they work in Nancy's universe. Regardless, Nancy plants bugs on both Bridget Shaw and Alec Fell in The Silent Spy, and surveils Antonio Fongo in his private office with binoculars in The Phantom of Venice. So, at least 3 counts of illegal surveillance. Now it's time to bring out the big guns. There are 2 criminal activities that Nancy engages in during basically every case she has ever undertaken. The first of these is theft. For this video, theft is defined as Nancy removing an object from its intended location without permission from its owner and not returning it to its original location. There is a caveat to this, however, because this crime does not include when Nancy moves items around their intended location. For example, Nancy isn't stealing Bruno Bollet's glass eyes in Legend of the Crystal Skull because they always stay within the Bollet property and are simply moved to different locations in the manor. However, Nancy does steal plenty of other things. I am certain that I have forgotten some, but here is as complete of a list as I could muster of all of the theft charges that we can lodge against Nancy with the help of the patrons over at Mystique Manor. Secret of the Scarlet Hand, The Beach Hill Files for Alejandro Del Rio. Danger by Design, J.J. Ling's Autograph. White Wolf of Icicle Creek, Lou Talbot's Snowshoes. Phantom of Venice, The Sapphire in the Warehouse. Haunting of Castle Malloy, Fiona's Herbs and Sheep Doll. Shadow at the Water's Edge, the teapot and room cards from the Ryokan, the CD from Yumi's apartment, and the newspaper articles from the frame. The Captive Curse, Renata's Map. Tomb of the Lost Queen, removal of multiple artifacts without proper cataloging. Ghost of Thornton Hall, Clara's Necklace. The Silent Spy, the spy glasses and coins. Labyrinth of Lies, the coin from the display case. The Shattered Medallion, Sunny's Papers. And Sea of Darkness, the sketch pieces from Dagny's luggage. Phew! All put together, at the very least, we can charge Nancy with 17 counts of theft. Yikes! Now, I legitimately thought that theft would be Nancy's biggest crime, but as I started to bring together all of the cases, I realized that she mostly moves a lot of things around and for the most part leaves things in the general location where they belong. She still definitely steals, no denying that, but she engages in our final crime even more: trespassing. For this video, trespassing is defined as Nancy entering a building or room that she does not have permission to enter and snooping. Trespassing also refers to when Nancy opens and intrudes upon a physical item belonging to a suspect without their permission. Simone Mueller isn't kidding in the final scene when she says, "You went through my personal property, I could have you arrested for that." Well, Simone could, and so could about 100 suspects. Once again, I guarantee that this is not an exhaustive list of all of the times that Nancy trespassed in the game. But with the help of the patrons over at Mystique Manor, here is the most complete list of trespassing counts that I could muster. Secrets Can Kill, the Teacher's Lounge. Stay tuned for Danger, Worldwide Broadcasting Studios at Night, and Dwayne Powers' private office. Message in a Haunted Mansion, Abby Sedaris' private room, and Lewis Chandler's briefcase. Treasure in the Royal Tower, the locked library. The final scene, Brady and Simone's bags. The Haunted Carousel, Ingrid's private office, and Harlan's locker. Danger on Deception Island, the lighthouse. Secret of the Old Clock, Richard Topham's private residence. Danger by Design, the catacombs, and Manette's dodo box. Creature of Kapu Cave, the classified research room at the Healy Healy Research Center. White Wolf of Icicle Creek, the guest rooms at Icicle Creek Lodge. Chantal may have given her permission to snoop at the lodge, but the guests did not give her permission to look through their belongings. Legend of the Crystal Skull, the back room of Zeke's Curio Shop, and Renee's trunk. Phantom of Venice, the warehouse, and Antonio Fongo's private office. Hunting of Castle Malloy, Fiona's bog hut. Ransom of the Seven Ships, technically the entire time Nancy and George stay at the resort because their stay wasn't actually approved by the owners. Warnings at Waverly Academy, Leela and Izzy's private room. Shadow at the Water's Edge, Dekai's private room, Rentoro's workshed, and behind the front desk. The Captive Curse, Carl and Anya's desks, and Renata's bag. Alibi in Ashes, the old town hall ruins, Alexi's trunk in Wardenclyffe Antiques, Tony's filing cabinets and backroom at Scoop, and Brenda's van. Tomb of the Lost Queen, Lily's trunk, Abdullah's trunk, Dylan's bag, and Jamila's bag. The Deadly Device, the lab, and Ellie and Mason's private workspaces. Ghost of Thornton Hall, Clara's bag. The Silent Spy, Bridget Shaw's room. The Shattered Medallion, Lena's tent and bag, and Sunny's tent. Labyrinth of Lies, Grigor's bag. Sea of Darkness, Magnus's house, the Misty Skip closet and back room, and Soren's private workspace, including Dagny's luggage. Midnight in Salem, Alicia Cole's office, the Hathorne house, and Olivia Ravencroft's shop. When we put all of that together, we can charge Nancy with, at minimum, 56 counts of trespassing. That is a lot of unauthorized snooping. I'll reiterate once again that it's a good thing that Nancy's dad is a lawyer, because she has a lot to answer to. Now, as far as we know, Nancy is never charged with any crimes throughout the series beyond being arrested in Alibi in Ashes for a crime that she didn't actually commit. This is probably first and foremost because these are games. We are willing to overlook some light trespassing and theft in the course of our detective work because Nancy often needs to do these things in order to solve the mysteries. She might be a criminal, but at least she's effective, which is probably another reason that she isn't ever charged. Nancy is working as the hero in these cases and helps an awful lot of people in the process of her cases. I do think it's interesting, though, that none of the suspects that she does end up harming never press charges, even when they probably could. The final scene is a great example where Simone's career takes a huge hit because of Nancy, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if she tried to retaliate by pressing charges against Nancy. Another interesting point that many fellow detectives have also rightly noted is that a lot of the evidence that Nancy finds wouldn't be permissible in court because she attains it through illegal means. Again, Nancy is a private investigator, not a cop, and she isn't following proper legal search procedures when she finds evidence against numerous culprits. This probably complicates a lot of her cases, but maybe we just don't see that part because, again, these are games and we're definitely supposed to suspend some reality for the sake of entertainment. Regardless, though, it was pretty fun to compile a list of all of Nancy's crimes. But what do you think, fellow detectives? Can you think of any crimes that I missed? Do you think some of the ones that I mentioned aren't actually criminal and are, in fact, in Nancy's purview as a private investigator? Should Nancy be more careful in her investigations? Let a Wizard Kitten know in the comments section down below. If you really enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button or tipping me for the video with a super thanks next to the download button right beneath the video. If you would like to come join a fantastic group of fellow detectives at Mystique Manor as a patron for the channel, gain access to exclusive content, and support the making of more content like this, please check out patreon.com/wizardkitten. I also have channel memberships with exclusive badges and emojis to use during streams and in the comment section. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming an official fellow detective, click join next to the subscribe button. Please feel free to follow the channel on Instagram or Discord, linked in the description box down below. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.